Morning. Uh, Today I'm going to talk on the NEET related questions from virology, the especially topics from general properties of viruses, adenoviruses, pox viruses, papilloma viruses, and herpes viral infections, adenoviral also. So let us move on. Which of the following virus possessing a segmented genome? See, usually the genome will be circular or the linear, and in some cases it would be segmented also. So for the answer for this is D, that is influenza virus. In the influenza virus, the RNA, single-stranded RNA genome will be present with negative sense. And this RNA is a segmented, 8 segments will be there, especially in 8 segments will be there in the orthomix viruses. So what is the importance of this segmentation is because of this segmented genome, these viruses will undergo easily for the gene reassortment. Gene reassortment. So the viruses from animal source and for bird source will mix together and forms because of this segmentation of the genome. The new virus will be produced, a novel virus will be produced which may be responsible for pandemic or the epidemic outbreaks. So this is the problem with this segmented genome from these viruses. So influenza viruses will have this segmented genome which is responsible for gene reassortments and production of novel viruses, viral strains which causes for pandemics. Next one is which virus that can infect bacteria is known as. So the answer here is a FAS. So first we will see the virion. Virion is nothing but the virus. So the virus only. So the question here is the virus which can infect the bacteria. So next one is a prion. Prion is an infectious proteinaceous material or protein which can produce the disease, in the form of slow viral diseases, So the next one is the plasmid. Plasmid is extra chromosomal genetic element which can impart the new properties to the viruses. So here the virus which can infect the bacteria is known as bacteriophage. So the bacteriophage. So here this bacteriophage, the virus which can infect the bacteria is known as phage bacteria. That kind of virus which can infect the bacteria is known as bacteriophage. Third one is 11 years a bit case scenario. Have to be careful in reading this question to get the answer. So 11-year-old boy attending to the summer boy scout camp developed symptoms of sore throat, headache, fatigue, and conjunctivitis. On examination, they had got light fever, but no rash. Within the next 1 to 2 days, several of the other campus develop similar symptoms which last for 5 to 7 days. The larger number of campus with similar symptoms indicate that which would be the common source of infection is causing that outbreak. So here the question is which of the following activities is the most likely source of the campus infection. So answer here is D. So we will see that this is a typical case of adenoviral infection where you can see the upper respiratory clinical manifestations in the form of sore throat, headache, and fatigue with the conjunctivitis with the involvement of mucous membranes. So here in this adenoviral infections, as we all know that adenoviral infections may cause for upper respiratory tract infections. It also causes for gastroenteritis, and they also causes for the conjunctivitis. These are all the infections produced by this one conjunctivitis, and last one is hemorrhagic cystitis. They produces hemorrhagic cystitis. So these are the various infections produced by this arboviral infection. So which would be the common source? So the first one is hiking in wooded areas with tall grass. Of course, the secretions from this grass can infect the individuals, but not the in gross number. And sharing water canteens with other campers, it's also possible, but not to produce such an epidemic form. And sleeping outdoors without protecting net, it's not at all related to this particular one. And walking barefoot in the bathhouse, this is also not possible, because these viruses will enter into the body by means of inhalation through the aerosols or droplets, but not by means of entering through the skin. So the swimming pool, the swimming in the camp pond, which can, because the secretions from the respiratory system and also the secretions from the conjunctivitis can infect the swimming pool, while the water in the swimming pool while they're swimming, and cause for the infection. So the swimming pool in the camp in the camp would be the main source for the transmission of these viral infections, where the large sources of large source would be there and large number of viruses also present. Then the third one is the causative agent in the question above. The causative agent question above was determined to be adenoviral infection. Yes, that's what I already mentioned. Which of the following best describes this viral agent? So that means what is the property? First we will see this answer here would be the A, means it's a non-enveloped double-stranded DNA virus with fibers at its vertices. So this virus will have no envelope is present, and the DNA is a double-stranded DNA, and on its surface its fibers are present. Fibers will be present on its vertices, and this adenovirus gives like morphology like space shuttle appearance. So answer is A. Why not the other three? We will see. The another one is non-enveloped. Yes, of course, this is also non-enveloped like adenovirus, but double-stranded circular DNA is present. The circular DNA is present. This is an important feature of human papilloma virus. This is an important feature of human papilloma virus. Next one is enveloped virus. It's enveloped, but adenovirus is non-enveloped. But here the enveloped virus is a single-stranded negative sense RNA. Single-stranded negative sense RNA. In the previous question also, discussion also, I mentioned about the morphology of this particular adenoviruses. Here, if you see in the adenovirus, again, here if you see in this option, it's a single-stranded negative sense RNA. This kind of structure present in case of viruses like rhabdoviruses, and also the orthomyxo, and also the paramyxo viral infections. Viruses will have this kind of morphology. Next one is enveloped double-stranded linear DNA with the glycoprotein spikes. These are usually present in herpes simplex. In case of herpes simplex virus, you can see this kind of morphology. And enveloped double-stranded circular DNA, this present in hepatitis B virus. So these are the different morphologies of the different viruses. So here the adenovirus is a non-enveloped virus with a double-stranded DNA with the fibers on its vertices are present. So here you can see that the vertices from the surface, these are the fibers. So sorry, this is a photograph. My video is coming across to that. and so these are the vertices. I mean, from where actually the fibers are arising, they are the vertices. Next, which of the following condition is not produced by adenoviruses? Following condition which is not produced by adenoviruses. One is the next one is the answer here is the subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. This condition usually produced by the MMR infection, measles, mumps, and rubella infections, and followed by vaccines also sometimes it produces. Next one is epidemic keratoconjunctivitis produced by the these particular viruses, and the pharyngoconjunctival fever also produced, and intussusception, especially after the gastroenteritis, epidemic of gastroenteritis. I mean, this is very common in infants. That is a double barrel appearance of the intestine. So this is the intestine will be like this. If you see the intestine like this, a part of intestine will go inside like this, and a part of see here you can see. So here I think you can observe this part of the intestine will enter inside the lumen of the intestine. So that kind of this thing in the intussusception you can see in case of adenoviral infection. Next, which of the following are the producers of interferons? Means the interferons are produced from the virus. Of course, the virus is responsible for the production of interferons from the cells infected, but the virus themselves are not able to produce the interferons. So the answer here is a B, that is infected host cells. From the infected host cells, interferons are produced, and the synthetic copolymers and viral genome, they are not related to this particular question. Yeah. Next one, the seventh question is: a 2-year-old child attending daycare develops diarrhea and gastroenteritis as a result of an adenoviral infection. Which of the following adenoviral serotypes would most likely to responsible for this girl's illness? We will see the first all the here the options given the various serotypes. We will see the serotypes 4 and 7. These are mainly responsible for upper respiratory tract infection. Upper respiratory tract infections means in the form of common cold. It produces mainly common cold with related symptoms. And 19 and 17, these two are responsible for epidemic keratoconjunctivitis. Responsible for epidemic keratoconjunctivitis. And not only 41, 42 and 40, all these three responsible for gastroenteritis. So here if you see this girl's illness, here the gastroenteritis produced by the 41 is the right answer. So 41, 42, 40 are responsible for the gastroenteritis in case of this given case. Then, which of the following is not an intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies? You all know that inclusion bodies produced either intranuclear or intracytoplasmic. So they may present either inside the nucleus or inside the cytoplasm of the infected cell. So here if you see the Negri bodies produced in the infection produced by the rhabdovirus. This is rhabdovirus. Okay, and then the molluscum contagiosum produced in pox viral infections, and Cowdrey type A are produced in herpes viral infections, and Guarneri bodies are Cowdrey type B also produced in pox viral infections. So which of the following is not intracytoplasmic? So since it's an RNA virus, naturally the Negri bodies are seen this one in intracytoplasmic. But the pox virus is a DNA virus. Pox is a DNA virus. Still, the pox viruses produces the inclusion bodies intracytoplasmically. So this is an exception in the viruses and their inclusion bodies produced by these viruses. In case of pox viruses, which are molluscum bodies and guarneri bodies, are produced intracytoplasmically rather than intranuclearly. But herpes virus, it's again a DNA virus. So naturally, it's a DNA viruses produces their inclusion bodies in the nucleus. So which of the following is not intracytoplasmic means Cowdery type A. So remember here the pox virus is, even though it's a DNA, produces their inclusion bodies in the cytoplasm of the infected cell. Yeah. We will move on to the next question, ninth one. Which of the following cell types are specific to a latent genital infection with HSV2? So that means HSV2 maintains the latency in which of the ganglion or cell types? First, we will see the trigeminal ganglion. In the trigeminal ganglion, we can see the latency with these herpes viral infections. The trigeminal ganglion, mainly the herpes simplex virus 1, mainly maintains the latency in the trigeminal nerve ganglion. And not only the trigeminal nerve, even vagal nerve and superior cervical. One more is superior cervical ganglion. All these ganglions, the HSV1 will maintain the latent infection. And if you see the sacral nerve ganglion, mainly the latency will be maintained by herpes simplex virus 2. Mainly as you all know that herpes simplex virus 2 is responsible for the genital infection, that means below the waist. So the sacral ganglion, the HSV2 will maintain the latent infection. And next one is a neural sensory ganglion. In this neural sensory ganglion, the latency will be maintained by varicella zoster virus. So the varicella zoster virus mainly maintains the latency in the neuronal cell ganglion. Yes, next one is an 18-year-old female. 18 year, let me take pen. Yeah. 18-year-old female presents to her physician with 1 week history of fever, sore throat, fatigue, and myalgia. Physical examination reveals enlarged tonsils and exudative pharyngitis. Based on her clinical presentation, her physician diagnoses her the case of infectious mononucleosis. Because there are multiple causes for infectious mononucleosis like illnesses, which of the following diagnostic assays would rule out the cytomegalovirus as a causative agent of this patient's infection? So if you see this, there's an infectious mononucleosis, which is characterized by the fever, severe cervical lymphadenopathy, and fatigue. It's produced by both the Epstein-Barr virus and cytomegalovirus. But here the cytomegalovirus produces infectious mononucleosis like condition because serologically cytomegaloviral infection is different from the Epstein-Barr virus. In case of Epstein-Barr virus, you can see the heterophil antibody protection, which is not possible in case of cytomegalovirus. So if you do the monospot test, that is for detection of heterophil antibodies, if the test comes positive, we can confirm that that would be a case of Epstein-Barr virus. If the test comes negative, that would be considered as cytomegaloviral infections. And if you see the other options, like a positive histologic finding of cytomegaly is a characteristic feature of cytomegalovirus, where you can't see in Epstein-Barr viral infection. And a lack of atypical lymphocytes in the patient's blood also, that goes in favor of cytomegaloviral infection. And negative gram stain is not at all useful for diagnosing this condition because the virus can't be demonstrated by the gram staining reaction. So the streptococcal sore throat, in case of streptococcal sore throat, this would be more useful test to diagnose the condition. The next one is a previously healthy 8-year old. That means previously otherwise normal boy develops classic childhood illness as a result of primary viral infection. Which of the following agents would most likely produce symptomatic disease in a boy of this age? So, in a boy, which primary infection will result in the symptomatology? That's the question. So here if you see the answer, the A would be the answer, that is varicella zoster virus, which is a responsible agent for the chickenpox. Chickenpox. So the primary infection of the chickenpox will result in symptomatology. You can see the symptoms in this particular infection. And why not other options like B, C, D are not options? Why? See, herpes simplex virus 2 not seen in childhood. It never be seen in childhood. Okay, it never seen in childhood. It's not a childhood disease at all. Primary infection may result in recurrences, especially in the elderly people, or adolescent onwards. It causes for clinical manifestations. And if you see the Epstein-Barr virus, polio virus, and cytomegalovirus, usually they won't produce any symptoms. They produce, primary infection produce won't any symptoms. Most of the times asymptomatology. This asymptomatic infection very common in primary infection in case of Epstein-Barr virus, polio virus, and cytomegaloviral infections. Yeah. The 12th question is a transplant patient taking high levels of immunosuppressive. Here the patient is a transplant, post-transplant patient taking immunosuppressive drugs and become infected with Epstein-Barr virus and develops lymphoma. The dosage of immunosuppressive drugs given to the patient is subsequently decreased and the tumor also regressed. Which of the following properties of Epstein-Barr virus infection is related to the patient's tumor development? So to concise this question, immunotransplant individuals where the immunity is low because of the immunosuppressive therapy, the T cell activity also will be decreased. When the T cell activity is decreased, Epstein-Barr viral infection, which is responsible for uncontrolled proliferation of the B lymphocytes, results in the formation of lymphomas. But if this T cell immunity is intact, then problem will not be there. But as long as the immunosuppressive agents are giving, the T cell activity will be decreased. So it results in uncontrolled proliferation of B lymphocytes with this infected, with the infection of Epstein-Barr virus, results in the formation of lymphomas. So the varieties of lymphoproliferative diseases are produced in Epstein-Barr virus, like Hodgkin's lymphoma, like Hodgkin's lymphoma, and this is one type of lymphoma, and the next one is Burkitt's lymphoma, and the next one is nasopharyngeal carcinoma. So all these types of infections are produced, and the following properties of infection, Epstein-Barr viral infection, is related to the patient's tumor development is only the immortalization of B lymphocytes, not because of increased WBC count, not because of presence of atypical lymphocytes, or not because of the production of heterophil antibodies. And which of the following statement is false about ORF? ORF is a pox viral infection. So which of the following statement is false? So it's a disease of human beings. It is a disease of human beings as well as animals. The human beings will get infected from the animals. And papillovesicular lesions is the correct answer, and it's a zoonotic disease and occupational disease also. Usually the farmers will suffer with this particular kind of viral infections. Next one, which of the following types of cancers is human papillomavirus most commonly associated with? So this human papillomavirus also responsible for the lung cancers, oral cancers, and prostate cancers. Of course, breast cancer may not be possible, but among all the available, anogenital cancer is the most common type of cancer produced by this particular virus, human papilloma virus. And that in human papillomavirus, that anogenital cancer also, that is cervical cancer also comes under anogenital cancer. Fifteenth one is, which of the following statements most accurately describes HSV infections? Here the answer been given as C, a lengthy answer. Please read. Primary and recurrent HSV, primary and recurrent herpes simplex viral infections are treated with drugs that inhibit the viral DNA polymerase. This is the right answer. Why not the other most accurate answer I have to choose? So HSV establishes lytic infection in neuronal ganglia. This is wrong answer. They always produces latent infection. They produces latent infection. They simply present, but they never cause for the lysis of the neuronal ganglia. Next one is B. Latent herpes simplex viral infections can be prevented in persons with functional cell-mediated immunity. Remember, this latency can't be prevented even in the presence of intact CMI functions. Next, D is HSV infection is transmitted via direct contact with symptomatic shedding of viral particles in active lesions. Remember, this herpes simplex virus infection transmitted via direct contact not only with the symptomatic patients, it's also possible with asymptomatic. It's also possible with asymptomatic shedders. So that's also not appropriate. And severe neonatal herpes infections are commonly associated with uterine transmission. Remember, the severe neonatal herpes infections are transmitted, are possible due to the transmission of this virus during the birth. During birth, not because of in utero infections, right? So that's why the most important and most appropriate answer would be the primary and recurrent herpes simplex viral infections are treated with drugs which can inhibit the DNA polymerase. Then, human papilloma virus related cervical intraepithelial neoplasia can be diagnosed by the presence of which of the following histologic feature? So the answer here is the cytoplasmic vacuolation and nuclear enlargement of the cells. So the cytoplasmic vacuolation and nuclear enlargement of cells, these cells are known as chyelocytes. These cells are known as chyelocytes. So the presence of the chyelocytes is a very important feature of this particular thing. And next, the why not the other may not be the answer. See, if you see this, Cowdry type A inclusions, Cowdry type A intranuclear inclusions, and yeah, here if you see the central and basophilic intranuclear cellular inclusions, these inclusions are seen with herpes simplex virus and varicella zoster virus. So here you can see the herpes simplex virus and varicella zoster virus, you can see this. And enlarged multinucleated giant cells are seen in cytomegaloviral infections, and numerous atypical lymphocytes are seen in Epstein-Barr viral infections. So this central basophilic intranuclear inclusions and Cowdry type A intranuclear inclusions are seen in both HSV and varicella zoster. Enlarged multinucleated cells in cytomegalovirus and numerous atypical cells are seen in Epstein-Barr virus. And which of the following is a vaccine for human papilloma viral infections? So the Gardasil is the answer. And if you see this, the other things like Salk vaccine is a killed vaccine for polio. This is killed vaccine for polio. 17-day vaccine is a live attenuated vaccine for yellow fever. And Rotarix is used for the rotaviral infection. rotaviral infection in case of infants or children who are suffering with this one. So it can be used, rotaviral infection. So Gardasil is the vaccine used against the human papilloma virus to prevent cervical cancer. Next, identify the mushroom-shaped papillomas or influenza viral surface. So you know that on influenza virus you can see two types of papillomas. One is one type are mushroom shaped, one type are mushroom shaped, another type are triangular. Papillomas. Triangular papillomas are present. So these papillomas, the mushroom-shaped papillomas, are nothing but neuraminidase spikes. As this hemagglutinin spikes is another type, that's which are triangular papillomas present on its surface. And these hemagglutinin spikes, otherwise known as triangle papillomas, are mainly useful for the attachment of virus. Through their sialic acid receptors, the virus can get attached to the RBCs and cause for the hemagglutination. And these neuraminidase spikes are responsible for removal of these viruses from the RBC surface and causes at the time of viral replication, at the time of budding, its neuraminidase acts on the infected cells to release it from the infected cells. And pentan fibers are not present here. These pentan fibers are present on adenoviral surface. They are present on the surface. They are pentan fibers, otherwise known as the fibers present on adenovirus. And the next one is a 21-year-old man attended to ENT OPD with sore throat, swollen glands, fatigue, and temperature of 39.4 degrees, otherwise 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Examination of the patient's peripheral blood smear shows 10% atypical lymphocytes, an elevated WBC count, and a positive heterophil antibody test. The patient asks for antimicrobial therapy. Which of the following would be the best response from the clinician? So here it's a typical case of Epstein-Barr viral infection. It's a typical case of Epstein-Barr viral infection. It's diagnosed based on the positive heterophil antibody testing. So for this viral infection, the patient is asking antimicrobial therapy. So being a doctor, how we are going to respond for the patient's question? The first thing is the answer would be what you are going to, the answer you have to give is there is no effective treatment. There is no effective treatment. Why, we will see. See, alpha interferon is helpful in Epstein-Barr viral infections but has multiple side effects. So we are not using at all the alpha interferon for this particular Epstein-Barr virus. And ribavirin is effective in patients over 60 years. The ribavirin is again not useful, even though we are using, it's not much useful for this particular viral infection. And attenuated viral vaccine has been developed but no effective in this case because the infection has already occurred. See here, there is no vaccine at all. There is no vaccine at all for this viral infection. So what we have to give answer is there is no effective treatment for this particular viral infection. Next, gradual sequential change in the antigenic structure of influenza virus is known as. So you all know that the influenza viruses have got two important properties. One is antigenic shift and antigenic drift. And OD variation, PQR variation not related to this one. The answer here is known as drift. So here a gradual and sequential change in antigenic structure of influenza virus is known as antigenic drift. This antigenic drift is responsible for epidemic outbreaks of this viral infections. Epidemic outbreaks of this viral infection. But sudden changes, shift means this sudden and unexpected changes in the genome of the influenza virus, which results in pandemics. pandemic viral or pandemic viral like H5N1, H1N1, and the another one is recently we had H1N1 PDM19. All these were responsible for the pandemics like bird flu and swine flu, and all these are all because of this particular sudden change in the antigenic structure. But gradual and sequential change in antigenic structure of influenza is known as antigenic drift, right? Then, which of the following viral families is known to be casually associated with tumor formation in healthy appearing human adults? So the tumor formation in the normal appearing human adults produced by the Papua viruses. The Papua viruses. Here again, if you see the importance of this particular viruses, the human papilloma virus usually causes for the cervical cancers. Human papilloma virus causes for the cervical cancers and squamous cell carcinomas of respiratory tract also. And if you see the next one, that is flaviviruses. Actually, if you see the flavivirus, the hepatitis C virus comes under this family, flavivirus. This hepatitis C virus causes for the hepatocellular carcinoma. This causes for hepatocellular carcinoma. But remember, hepatocellular carcinoma never produces people in healthy appearing individuals. In hepatocellular carcinoma is next to cirrhosis of liver. This cirrhosis is due to the chronic infection with this hepatitis C viral infection. Chronic and recurrent attacks of hepatitis C viral infection causes for cirrhosis, which finally results in hepatocellular carcinoma, but not among the people who are appearing healthy. And next one is paramyxoviruses. These paramyxoviruses also not associated. Paramyxovirus, especially like respiratory syncytial virus, it not associated with this kind of carcinomas. And polyomavirus, that's BK and JC virus. BK and JC virus produces tumors among the immunocompromised individuals, not in the normal individuals. So the Papova, this viridae family, which consists of papillomavirus and polyomaviruses. So that's why the Papova viruses, the human papillomavirus comes under this particular family, which is responsible for cancers among the people who appears normal. Then, true about Van Magnus phenomenon. So is these viruses to prepare the vaccines or other things, where the influenza viruses will be sent for the serial passage in the eggs. So here the Van Magnus phenomenon. What is this Van Magnus phenomenon? We'll see then. The first one is produced by serial egg passage of strain, and the progeny show high hemagglutinin titers and low infectivity, and the progeny show low hemagglutinin titers with high infectivity and due to incomplete viral formation. So this the Van Magnus phenomenon is produced by influenza virus when they are subjected for a serial egg passage. So here if you do these subcultures serially in the eggs, embryonated eggs, the resulting viral strains will show the high hemagglutinin titers. That means that the many number of viruses will be produced and they can agglutinate the RBCs. But those large number of viruses are having low infectivity. That phenomenon is known as Van Magnus phenomenon. That means if you pass these viruses serially for the so many subcultures in the embryonated eggs, the resulting viral strains will show the high hemagglutinin titers but low infectivity. So that's why the answer here would be the D, that is 1, statement 1, statement 2, and statement 4 are right answers. Next, which of the following paramyxovirus lacks an envelope viral attachment protein with hemagglutinin activity? So even though the parainfluenza virus, measles virus, mumps virus, and respiratory syncytial virus all comes under this particular para-influenza viral or paramyxoviral family. But among them, the respiratory syncytial virus is has got unique property which lacks an envelope a viral attachment protein with hemagglutinin activity. All others are having that property. Then and an 8-month-old infant is brought to the emergency room with a suspected RSV infection. Which of the following clinical illnesses would be most concerned about this child having as a result of infection with this virus? So an 8-month-old infant emergency room with RSV infection. RSV, that's respiratory syncytial viral infection. Which of the following clinical illnesses would be the most concern about this child having as a result of infection with this virus? So answer is a bronchiolitis. Bronchiolitis is a very common feature produced by this respiratory syncytial virus among the infants and cause for the sudden death So that's why it's also known as sudden death baby syndrome. Sudden death baby syndrome. It's produced by this particular virus. That's because of bronchiolitis. Encephalitis won't be produced, and meningitis it can't produce, and pancreatitis also not produced by respiratory syncytial virus. Because of severe inflammation of the bronchioles results in bronchiolitis, which cause for the sudden death of the baby. And next one is the chemoprophylaxis for influenza is not recommended in the following situation. Which is not recommended in the following situation. And the answer here is routine seasonal flu-like illness. When there is a routine seasonal flu-like illness, then you need not to give the chemoprophylaxis for this particular oseltamivir. Such kind of drugs will not be given for this influenza viral infection. But during the outbreaks in hospitals and the non-vaccinated individuals, when they get exposed to the influenza viral infection and they exposed to the case of influenza with HIV positivity, that means immunocompromised individuals, when they got exposed to this particular virus, then we have to give the chemoprophylaxis. But in case of routine seasonal flu-like illness, we need not to give the chemoprophylaxis, and it has to be given in another 3 conditions like hospital outbreaks, non-vaccinated individuals, and the immunocompromised individuals have to receive the influenza vaccine. So this is about the discussion on few questions from the virology which are useful for your NEET examination, and thank you very much for your